Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Fleric.
This is Mac.
And this is our midway review episode of the November tournament. We are through day 8, so there will be spoilers, obviously, through day 8. And let's jump right into the Yusho race, where it is one man standing alone at the top, undefeated, and it is the highest ranked currently fighting man in Takakeisho. He is at 8-0, and that's his longest undefeated start in the Makuuchi division. He did have one 8-0 start in Juryo once, so if he wins once more on day 9, that will be his longest undefeated start to a tournament ever. And also, I feel like we need to make a special note of this. Alert all the presses, because Takakeisho won a match where somebody touched his belt. He did not immediately crumple to the floor in pain.
Or tumble ass over tits onto the ground the second that it happened.
Yeah.
He showed a lot of poise, and apparently that's a thing he can do now. That's kind of cool.
It is?
I guess.
I don't know if I believe that.
Well, go back and rewatch his day 3 match against Kiribayama then. Kiribayama gets a grip on Takakeisho's belt, pushes Takakeisho up against the Tawara, but Takakeisho is able to do the old Tsukiotoshi and slide him down to the ground and win the match. So, hey, if Takakeisho can start doing that more, that's at least something that he can do. At least a slight measure of defense. Something that he obviously needs to add to his game if he wants more consistent success at sumo. But my God, he's just looking fully healthy and probably about as good as we've ever seen Takakeisho in his career. Do you guys ever think we've seen him better than the first week of this tournament?
I mean, he's got a Yusho under his belt, but yeah, he didn't necessarily start that particular tournament quite so hot. I think this is a huge opening for him to as the only guy Ozeki or above that's competing. I'm really pulling for him to get another Yusho under his belt.
Yeah, it'll be...
So you're saying you're Team Takakeisho? That's what you're telling me.
I didn't want to rub it in right away, but yes, Fleric, I do recall a certain pair of Grand Sumo Breakdown hosts were Team Takakeisho coming into this particular tournament.
Yeah. Well, unfortunate circumstances that we'll get to later have made that clearly the winning side. Although there is still a chance.
There is still a chance.
Technically, Takakeisho could lose out. Asanoyama could come back tomorrow, win out, and they tie at 8-7.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either, but technically there is a chance.
There's not a chance because he can't come back on day 9. He's not on the Torikumi.
Shit. All right. Team Takakeisho wins this round. I can't argue with that logic.
We'll check in after. We'll check in on the recap, but I've got a pretty good feeling about it.
Yeah. So yeah, Takakeisho is in prime position to be the first Ozeki to win a Yusho since Kisei no Sato did it back in January of 2017. We'll talk a little bit later about whether or not we think he will seal the deal, but let's talk about some of the guys that are chasing Takakeisho, and we will start with big strong boy Terano Fuji at Komosubi. He started off 7-0. Stumbled a little bit today against Daisho, but he's had some impressive wins in his 7-1 start. Day 2, his win over Asanoyama absolutely slammed him down to the ground. Now, Asanoyama had that injury he suffered in his first match against Kiribayama that might have led to that, but still, a very solid, powerful throw by Terano Fuji against Asanoyama on day 2. And then I think what was even more impressive on day 5, he basically ragdolled Hokuto Fuji. And Hokuto Fuji's a big boy.
Yeah. Second tournament in a row that he has left Hokuto Fuji fully airborne.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one in the last tournament.
The last one was more of like a slip to the side that left Hokuto Fuji overextending, but it was still the one where we got that excellent screenshot of Hokuto Fuji like 3.5 feet off the ground.
Yeah. This one, it was more of a belt throw, but he absolutely got both of Hokuto Fuji's legs and feet off the ground during that throw. Very impressive. So Are you guys worried at all about Teruno Fuji and his loss today? Maybe similar thing we saw last time where he's going to kind of start to fall apart in the second week, Jake?
I think that I'm a little bit worried, not necessarily because of the loss, but because I've never seen somebody look so strong and athletic and just fully there on the dohyo. But then the second that he's not wrestling in a match, he looks like he's about to fall apart. So, like, after losing to Daisho, he did end up stepping off the dohyo. It wasn't like a big fall to the ground or anything like that, but it's still like one of those, going from the dohyo down to the floor while maintaining, while staying upright. But that's still something that we've seen injure people a lot. And just with both of his knees so taped up and the way that he just kind of has to hobble around, it definitely made me worry about his health. But again, while he's in the ring, he seems to be nigh invulnerable. But the second that anything out of the ordinary happens, it makes me cringe a little bit that something's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he definitely seems hurt, but like he's like pulling it together for his matches, and like that's like just enough to win. So that's been pretty impressive. I will
Agreed.
say he's been he lost today. Yesterday I thought it was an exciting match he had, but it was definitely a little bit shaky. He had great recovery at the edge, which I thought was fantastic. But
Yeah, I was actually...
I don't know.
I was watching that match with my wife. So it was Teruno Fuji against Wakataka Kage on day 7. And before the match started, I'm like, okay, watch the guy on the right get absolutely destroyed out of this ring. And then Teruno Fuji did end up winning that, but it was a lot closer than it should have been. So maybe kind of a sign of what happened today where Daisho hit Teruno Fuji with the Tsupari attack, and Teruno Fuji, he kind of missed the grip on the initial Tachiai on Daisho's belt, and he was never able to kind of recover and regain a grip on Daisho's belt. And so Daisho just kind of moved Teruno Fuji around the ring and eventually out. So, yeah, that's definitely something to watch for. We'll see if Teruno Fuji can maintain that strength in the second week. He still has both Sekiwake to go up against and Takakeisho. And it looks like he has Takayasu on day 9. So, that could be
Takayasu. That's a tough one.
I mean, he's Komusubi. He's 4-4. He started off rough. He's won 3 in a row. So we'll see.
I'm just talking him up because he's my boy.
Yeah, it's the former Ozeki Derby or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna be facing each other. But no, I was one thing I want to say is his big goal, like he stated, is try to get Ozeki back and like trying to get that double-digit win to get him to a Yusho race. You know, he's most of the way there, so I think he's doing pretty good towards his goals this basho.
Yeah, I mean, he started off with he could potentially have an 8-7 to start his Ozeki run, but if he has 2 fantastic tournaments, that 8-7 is still okay. But yeah, I think for me the last thing that I wanted to say on Teruno Fuji is, do you guys remember my the Honda Accord I had before my current car? Like the crappy one that I had all through college. Yeah. So that car, something was screwy with the gas pedal, but so it accelerated hard and it did great at that. But the second that you had some sort of uneven terrain, the second that anything went out of the ordinary, the second that, we weren't just accelerating on a straight flat path, it was not, it did not really do the trick. So I'm reminded of the Rocket, as we called him. But yeah, that's the kind of feel that I get from Teruno Fuji. Like, as long as we're doing the right thing, as long as we're going straight forward, we're doing great. But as soon as we have to step off the dohyo, as soon as a match doesn't quite start off the way that we want, starts to look a little shaky.
Starts to look a little bit like a Honda Accord.
From 1991, yes. That car is old enough it could rent other cars.
Wow.
And as far as I know, it still runs at the shop that we gave it to. A family friend took that car in, and it just became like the go out for coffee car. And it's apparently, as of this summer, I think it was still going. I haven't heard news in a while.
So let's move on from our very first car talk on this podcast, I believe, and let's talk about another solid old guy that is doing very well so far, and that is Takada Fuji at 7-1, Maegashira 6 East rank. very surprising start for him. Looking at his record, he has beaten like 5 guys with a winning record so far. So he's not just beating scrubs. He's beaten like Tochinoshin, who's 5-3. He's beaten Endo, who's 5-3. Tokushoryu, who's 5-3. Kotoeko, who's 5-3. So these are good wins for Takada Fuji. But Mac, is he a pretender or a contender for this U show?
So we've touched on this before in the past. Takada Fuji is a solid mid ranker. I don't know what it is, but as soon as he's M6, maybe M5 down to about M8, M9, he does really well. And then his kryptonite is M3 and above. Now, he's gone against really tough opponents and had some really good wins, but I think as the tournament's going to progress on, again, love his sumo, love his base, love how he's a little bit more patient. He waits to get his grip and then he pulls a move, plus that ass. How can you ever root against that ass? But in this case, I think he is a pretender at this point. And that's really hard for me to say because I want him to win. And usually I jinx everybody. So he is a pretender only for the fact that I don't want to jinx him.
Yeah, I think my thought is, yeah, he can kind of mow through these guys. I mean, it's impressive that he is mowing through all these guys. Typically, he doesn't. He's more in like the 8-7, 9-6 range, where he's looking like he could blow that out of the water this time. But I think if he keeps this up, he's going to have to start fighting the Terra no Fujis. He's going to have to go up against Taka Keisho, Mitake Yumi. So yeah, I would consider him a pretender. So yeah,
he's kind of feasting on those guys. Like he's at that rank where he's like just outside the Joy. Mm-hmm. So like if you're a Joy or Sanyaku caliber guy, that Maegashira 6, that's like a perfect spot for you because you like. You won't have to face anybody in the Joy until we get to second week and you have to get the hard matchups.
Yeah, and he's mostly going up against fellow 30-plus people. I think Koto Shoho is the only young guy that he fought, so he's just kind of in the range where there's a bunch of older guys, and he's just kind of shining as the best old guy in this tournament so far. So we have one other guy that is one off the lead. And my God, it's a Maegashira 17. It's Shima no Umi. Cleric.
Not again.
Is he a pretender or is he a contender? Can Maegashira 17 do it again?
Who is this person?
I believe it's pronounced Shima no Umi.
Okay.
Might be the first time we've said his name on this podcast.
Yeah, I will say I've read his name many times, and where it just doesn't spark anything for me. And just before that alone, I'm gonna say pretender, and I think he's going to get. I don't know. I think he's going to get matched up and lose, and we're going to barely even know that.
Are you just dismissing this whole Maegashira 17 rank thing for winning U shows?
I guess I am this time around. I don't know. It's just like I feel like the story is up in the Sanyaku. That's where it's at, and I just the spoiler Cinderella story from M17 is just I'm not feeling it right now. So no, I don't think it's going to happen at all. Just because it will not be the better story.
Wow, Fleric, the one on this podcast not playing into the memes, is probably the biggest upset of this tournament so far. All right, so let's talk about we got 3 other guys that are 2 behind Taka Keisho's lead at 8-0. So we've got a group at 6-2, led by, I'm going to say, a sneaky Mitake Yumi 6-2. Like, I think he started off 2-2, and now he's won 4 in a row. And when I look at the leaderboard, I'm like, Mitake Yumi's 2 off the lead? That doesn't seem right. Jake, is Mitake Yumi a pretender or contender for this?
He is one of only 2 guys that are competing in this entire tournament that has more than one U show. The other being Terra no Fuji. I am very confident that he is a contender. He's always been somebody that kind of like craps the bed on some weird matchups that should be easy. Like Daisho, he probably should have beaten, but it's not unheard of for Daisho to beat Mitake Yumi.
Daisho was Sekiwake just last tournament.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mitake Yumi has the edge in that rivalry, but it's not one-sided or anything. It's not unheard of.
Yeah.
What's weird is that Kiribayama is now 3-0 against Mitake Yumi. Apparently, he's got kryptonite there.
I like that. I like that stat.
So other than one believable loss and one apparent kryptonite wrestler, he's done well so far. He's very solid, very meat and potatoes as usual. Nothing super crazy. I think that he's going to continue to do well. Maybe pick up another loss or two would not surprise me. But I do think that he is a contender. It's certainly within the realm of believable outcomes that he ends up on top. Taka Keisho has gotten through a lot of his tougher matchups already, but he still has some of the good ones to go. And I think Taka Keisho picking up a couple losses and Mitakayumi catching up, that seems possible to me.
Yeah, so a scenario that actually just kind of entered my head. So let's say Mitakayumi does keep winning, and believably, I think we'll all assume Taka Keisho is going to drop one at one point. So if these would be the top two ranked guys in this tournament, so this should be the day 15 matchup is Taka Keisho versus Mitakayumi.
Ooh.
And so that, if things hold, that could end up deciding the Yusho race. And I'm just looking at their rivalry. They are 8-8 against each other.
Oh wow.
It's actually 9-8 for Mitakayumi because he has that one playoff win against Taka Keisho last year at the Aki tournament. So, hey, maybe Mitakayumi pulls off a string of wins and he gets his third Yusho in 3 years.
Yeah, and that would move him into first place all time for people that have not made Ozeki. Because no other non-Ozeki has ever won 3 tournaments in their career.
Wow.
Or at least, people who didn't eventually make it to Ozeki or Yokozuna. But regardless, yeah, that is now my dream scenario, is Mitakayumi wins out until day 15, Taka Keisho drops 1, and then Mitakayumi winning would force a playoff on day 15. That's the kind of stuff that we're here for.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So the odds of that happening are less than 1%. I'm sure of that. That would just be too good.
But the TLDR, yes, I think he is a contender for sure. I don't think he's the favorite, but I think he's a contender.
All right, Mac, what about another 6-2 Rikishi? Maegashira 10 East Ryuden.
It literally has to do with his new form at the Tachiai. There's something hypnotic about that bouncing butt of his that seems to be throwing people off. Not everybody, but quite a few people. Can you deny that it's working?
Yes. It has nothing to do with the matches.
No, it has everything to do.
I don't know. Let's stop down and discuss this for at least 20 minutes because I feel like this is the most talkable point in this entire tournament. So
I knew we would have to get to the twerking elephant in the room.
So day 1, he lost to Koto Ueko. As far as I know, there was no twerking Ryuden at that point. It started day 2, I believe, against Sada no Umi, or it might have been day 3.
I think it's 3. According to my notes, that's where I start having what the fuck written in every single day for Ryuden.
He has won 5 out of 6 matches with the twerk, and the previous tournaments where he has not been twerking, his last few records are 6-9, 7-8, 6-9. This twerking is what's saving him.
Indeed it is.
I think it's a correlation versus causation thing. My guess is that a pretty lady complimented him on his butt, and thus it is now the confidence from that single compliment that has caused him to try and show off that butt, and that confidence is also causing his record to improve.
Yeah, my theory is
whatever it is, but it's working.
My theory is he's jamming out to a song in his head, and so he's just kind of wiggling his butt to the beat, getting ready for that Tachi-ai.
He's got some Bee Gees in his head as he's just listening to Staying Alive, and it's
Yeah, that's been my working theory, is that he's found like some very tiny earbuds that he has in his ears, so he's able to listen to his warm-up music, or it's his like coach talking in his ear, telling him what to do exactly in the matches. So
it's like, raise your butt, lower your butt, raise your butt, lower your butt.
Yeah, the whole coach thing kind of doesn't hold water when I think about why he's bopping his butt. I was just thinking, oh, he's got something in his ear. Maybe he's getting advice. No, he's definitely just listening to his workout music, and that's given him the edge that he needs. So yeah, Mac, if he continued twerking, is he a contender to win this tournament?
I definitely have to say yes, particularly if he can hold his current streak. So, lost the first day, won the next 5. Lost on day 7. If he can win the next 5, he's going to be looking definitely as a contender.
And we all know that repeats.
Oh, totally. No, I'm totally making a pattern out of just the rhythmic butt movement that is Ryuden.
I think it's kind of funny to me, especially on day 3, the first day that I have the twerking noted. He's shown a lot more excitement, a lot more, that Hokuto Fuji or Teratsuyoshi like pre-match psych up. He's shown a lot more of that, but especially on day 3, he's all amped up. He's got this stupid twerking thing going on, and then he just does his regular same calm grappling. Like once the match starts, it's exactly what I've always seen from Ryuden.
Yeah,
very strange to me. He hasn't shown like some of the guys I've noticed this tournament have shown like enthusiasm and a little bit of wild wrestling because they are psyched up, but not Ryuden. It's purely pre-match.
Yeah, maybe it's to psych out his opponent. That's what I mean.
The hypnotic butt movement. Like, what's he doing? I can't tell. Is he going to charge? Is he going to go high, low? What is he doing?
Yeah, I do feel like it's been kind of like some people have been, I think, trying to time their Tachi when it's like already like on the way down to like get that edge on the Tachi, but I think Ryuden's been kind of playing that out a little bit. I don't know. It's interesting. I think people are trying to take advantage of it, but failing for the most part.
I can only hope that this just leads to more pre-Tachi strategic butt movements that we need to analyze and break down how somebody moves their rear end and how that affects the outcome of a match. Very exciting times we live in here. Let's talk about our final guy at 6-2. That is Maegashira 14 East, Chiyo no Kuni, back in the Makuuchi division after a couple of years due to injury. Fleric, is Chiyo no Kuni a pretender or a contender?
Yeah, he's a pretender all the way, at least from what we've seen so far. He has some good, solid wins, but it's from people who are out of form at the bottom. We have an Enho. We have a Ichi. I guess I know. No, that's for you. Let's change my tab.
Ichinojo. He beat Ichinojo day 1.
That's what I thought. Like he's been Enho. He's been Ichinojo. I'm not convinced by his wins, and he's lost against it looks like Endo and Hoshoryu. Endo's pretty solid, but Hoshoryu has been kind of middle of the pack so far. I've not been too impressed, so I don't think he's going to be in. He's not going to win a Yusho from what I've seen.
Kind of the opposite of what I mentioned with Takeda Fuji, where Takeda Fuji has a lot of wins against people with winning records, whereas Chiyo no Kuni, all of his wins are against people that are 500 or below, and the 2 people he's fought with winning records, he's lost to. So that kind of changes my opinion, because coming into this, I was like, nah, he's been looking really good. His sumo's been pretty good, I think, for the most part. Stumbled these last 2 days, but I think at his rank, he could probably put together a nice long winning streak. We've seen him do it before, so I'd say contender for him. But yeah, you might have swayed me there with the level that his opponents are at that he's beaten there, Fleric.
Yeah, we'll see. The rest of his opponents might be pretty tough, but I see Tokushoryu on day 9, and he's not going to win out that one.
That's
Tokushoryu is too good.
Tokushoryu.
Exactly.
I think one other thing to note here, just because it relates to a previous episode that will actually I think it'll be releasing right around the same time as this one. But in the Sumo Fitness series that me and Mac have been doing with Ed from the United States Sumo Federation, we just covered Suriashi as a solo sumo training exercise. And that's the exercise where you shuffle your feet and make sure your feet stay in contact with the dohyo as you cross it back and forth. And I thought it was interesting on day 8 here when Chiyo no Kuni lost to Endo, it's because he lifted up his feet. I'm not saying he would have won if he kept his feet down on the dohyo, but because he lifted up his feet as he was pivoting, he ended up stepping outside rather than it still, like I said, it still might have happened anyways, but he stepped physically outside the dohyo rather than getting pushed or or grappled over the line. He just, his foot placement placed him outside the ring. And I thought that was kind of cool because that's the fundamental that we have just been working on and just discussed with Ed.
Now, here's the true question. Flerick, did you know Jake and Mac were doing a sumo fitness series with Ed?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I mostly because I randomly on Discord I see just him, Mac, and and Ed on a Discord call. I was like, I wonder what's going on there.
Fair enough.
And I looked into it and I found out what's going on.
All right, so we've discussed all of the leaders. I think the obvious front runner right now is Takakeisho. Do we think that anybody else is the favorite going forward, or is it Takakeisho full steam ahead?
I think what Jake said with him, Takayumi, and also I'll throw in Terunofuji as well. Like Terunofuji can look shaky at times, but like I said, if he can rally it up for the match as is, he can pull out a string of wins and he can beat anyone. So I think all on the favorite, definitely Takakeisho from what we're seeing, but it's no way just a one person Yusho race.
All right. Hopefully not, because those are never any fun. But it would be something interesting to see an Ozeki finally like dominate a tournament, and like if Takakeisho went 15-0, now that'd be a good conversation.
That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move on and talk about some people that we're going to talk about bigly for the January tournament. Those are our Yokozuna. As you have noticed, we have not mentioned them until now because they have not participated. Kakuryu, as expected, pulled out prior to the tournament, just dealing with a whole lot of issues. And his stable master has said that it's do or die for him in January. And then Hakuho, also prior to the tournament, surprisingly pulled out. I think a lot of us were expecting him to compete, as he had participated in a lot of like the combo practice that they had between the tournaments. But he had that meeting with his doctor. Apparently, they saw something there. They thought it would best if Hakuho did not compete. And Hakuho's Oyakata, Miyagino Oyakata, also said that it's a do or die tournament for Hakuho. I found that a quote from Twitter from @sumo_follower. So that's about as good of a source as we can get. So that surprises me with Hakuho's coach saying it's do or die for him in January, as his string of absences isn't quite as glaring as Kakuryu, but actually it might not be all that much better. So yeah, both of those guys are going to be fighting for their careers in January. Anything else you guys want to say about the Yokozuna for now, or do we want to save that conversation for January?
Yeah, other than like what I think you're hinting at is going to be a very exciting January. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a fun time.
Potentially depressing, but certainly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Almost certainly depressing. With as many things that are going to be on the line, there's no way they all go the right way.
Two Kato bonds, two Yokozuna fighting for their career. Yeah, I don't think anything has really changed since the last time we talked about it. But yeah, January, that'll be topic number one.
Yeah,
Bloodbath comes to mind.
And topics number 3 and 4 behind the two Yokozuna fighting for their careers are going to be the two Ozeki that will be fighting for their rank. As we alluded to before, Asanoyama injured his shoulder in his day 1 win against Kiribayama, and he pulled out after losing to Terunofuji on day 2. Shodai injured his ankle in his day 3 win against Takayasu. Kind of one of those things that Jake kind of pointed out, Terunofuji, where he stepped off the dohyo, was kind of innocuous, didn't really do anything to Terunofuji. Well, Shodai, he stepped off the dohyo. It wasn't innocuous. He injured his ankle, and he's out of the tournament. So he fought one more day against Daisho, really didn't have any sumo to offer there, so he is pulled out. Both will have a losing record. Both will be Kadoban. Both will be fighting for their Ozeki rank in January. So who are you guys more disappointed to see Kyujo? And I'll start it off, and I'm actually going to say Shodai. And I think it's because it is his first tournament as an Ozeki. Asanoyama has a couple under his belt where he got double-digit wins as an Ozeki, kind of showing that he can prove it at that rank. I feel bad for Shodai that he gets injured on day 3 in his first Ozeki tournament, and unless he completely heals up and performs at least decently well in January, he could lose that super quick after just an amazing year that he's had. So I feel really bad for Shodai here, but are you guys more disappointed to see somebody else go? Jake?
I think I can't say that I feel worse about one versus the other, but I think it's worth pointing out that these are the first absences either of these guys has ever had. They have both been in incredible shape. Wow. They've been what's the term? Is it Iron Man? Is that what they're generally referred
Iron
to? So yeah, they've never missed a single match until both of them get hurt this tournament. Granted, they haven't been Ozeki for very long, so you may not have had that privilege before where you can nurse an injury. But at the same time, it's still outrageously depressing that it happens at the same time for both of these guys that had such momentum coming into this tournament and such a huge opening with both Yokozuna sitting out. I guess if I had to pick one, I'd say Asanoyama, just because he's got so much more pressure on him as the potential next Yokozuna that we've all been expecting for like a year now.
All right, so let's move on and just kind of talk about the rest of the pack a little bit. Everybody's got a couple of people they want to talk about. My people, same guys that I mentioned I was super excited to see in the preview episode, those being our Maegashira 1, Kiribayama, and Wakataka Kage. And woof. Ouch. Wakataka Kage's 2-6, but one of those wins was Fusen over Asanoyama. Kiribayama is just 1-7. Both of these guys have fought all the top rankers, and so they're done with the Sanyaku Rikishi. They're going to face everybody ranked below them after this, but still, you want to see them pick up more than one win apiece against the Sanyaku Rikishi. I don't think this is like the death knell for either of them in their career at all. I think both of them will probably bounce back a little bit in week 2. My prediction is like Wakataka Kage 6-9, Kiribayama 5-10. Kind of expected for young guys in the Sanyaku or in the Joy for the first time in their career. I guess Kiribayama second time in his career, but I really was expecting a little bit more of a show out of those two guys, so I am disappointed with them. What about you, Jake? Who are you looking at this tournament?
So Takanosho is doing okay in his Sekiwake debut. He's at 4-4, but he does have his hardest matchups ahead of him. So I think that's he may be finally faltering just a little bit the way that we've kind of been expecting would happen to him eventually as fast as he moved up the Bansuke. So I'm pretty skeptical that this tournament's going to go well for him.
Yeah, and he has a couple of, I would say, disappointing losses, especially the last 2 days, losing to Kageyaki and Miyogiryu.
Losing to Kageyaki is for sure super disappointing for anyone.
Kageyaki's been doing pretty good, though, right?
Nope, no, he's 3-5.
No.
Okay.
But
he's been having some solid wins. Maybe that's it.
He beat Tobizaru, Miyogiryu, and aforementioned Takanosho match. So I don't know. Kageyaki was one of the other guys I wanted to bring up. He's now wearing black instead of gold, which sucks. That was like the only likable thing about him was that he wore that as a tribute to Wajima, the Yokozuna that came from the same. Were they like distant relatives, or were they like from the same town or something?
I think that was something with Endo when he wore the gold. It was
Kageyaki has some sort of connection to Wajima, though.
Yeah, but apparently both of those guys have decided they no longer want to pay tribute to him as they have both moved away from the gold Mawashi, which is sad. The gold Mawashi was a nice shock of color that we no longer get to see in the Makuuchi division.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well, hopefully Endo takes it back and Kageyaki continues to fade into the background. 2 more quick points. Yutakayama, come on, man. He's the new Ono show. He overextends and somebody just like anybody who wants to can just step sideways and he'll go flying. And lastly, Terutsuyoshi, give it up, man. You're not going to get the Ashitori. Come on, dude.
He tried again today. On day 8.
Against Koto Shoho. It was probably the worst one yet. He just like missed, and because he missed it, it threw him off balance. Like he was 100% committed to it, and just flump. He just went down. Yeah, he has not won. Sorry, go ahead, Flerick.
I was gonna say I think part of that was Koto Shoho just having good defense. Like I think Koto Shoho definitely had like someone go at him with Ashitori and just say, hey, so he can practice defending that, because I thought that was a pretty good defense for it.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's the one move that you know is for sure on the table, like you can defend against it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Terutsuyoshi, I would love to go back through all of our notes and see if we can make a count. Since his last Ashitori win, which was the one against Asanoyama, the high-profile one, how many matches has he lost because he tried to go for it? Because I bet you
half of them.
Half of his matches that he's had since then.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the defense against Ashitori is just like stay low, make sure he doesn't grab your leg. That's not like
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's simple.
But like it's not a Ashitori isn't really a move where you can anticipate a defense and then, have a counter to the counter ready to go. So like if he screws up the Ashitori, he's just effed. It's just over.
All right. I can make a parallel to StarCraft with what I'm hearing right now.
Yes.
Please do.
There are builds and there are different types of build orders, which is like how you play the game in StarCraft. You can either do something where it's kind of like where you kind of build up for like the late game where you're going to be in a very strong position, or you just go, screw it, we're going to go all in and do a cheesy build like a bunker rush or a six pool.
Zergling charge.
Exactly. Zergling charge is like kind of a famous all in, especially if you do it really, really early. And so, but the thing is, like, usually the really good players like to say the macro play, like the long game is the way to go, because you want to not do something where where you try something and it doesn't work and you lose, that's really bad. You want to do something where you can always have a chance to be winning or in a good position. So the Ashitoris, and then you have like the cheesy builds, which are like the all-in builds you do. So the Ashitori is definitely a cheese build, and he is trash, and he should feel bad for trying that over and over again.
Let's start calling it the Zerg Rush.
Zerg Rush.
I like it.
There you go.
That's probably the best StarCraft analogy you've had on this podcast.
I don't know. I talked about some good StarCraft stuff. I don't know.
I think for you, the same thing happens to me when I talk MMA. I have a loose connection that I bring it up, and then I get stuck on a tangent.
It's probably true. Or mostly, like, I think it's super cool that Protoss tends to win in the fall. It's whatever. Some super tangent that I think is super cool and super interesting, but everyone else is kind of apparently just like just goes past them. But whatever, we can move on.
Yeah, stop while you're ahead on the StarCraft talk, Fleric. And
you had it,
Fleric.
You had it.
Tell us about a couple of guys that have caught your eye, or any other talking points that you might have that we.
I was gonna say, your boy Hook to Fuji's been looking pretty good. Have you?
He started pretty good. He started off 4-0, but now he's 4-4.
But the last four was what? Terra no Fuji, Takanosho, Mitakayumi, Takakeisho. Like that's all like Sanyaku, just Sanyaku meat grinder right there.
Probably the four hardest matchups out there in this draft.
Yeah. And he does have Kagayaki next, so that should right the ship.
So there's a free win.
That'll help.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have bragging rights over Jake this tournament as Hokuto Fuji beat Takayasu.
But yeah, he's been looking a very fast and hard Tachi-ai. It's been noticeable, and it's like super scary. And
I love his intensity.
It stood out to me.
I love how he just psychs himself up and just visibly pumps himself up.
That's one of the reasons why he's my favorite. I do worry that he's a bit of a head case, and I think even though he lost these 4 matches in a row against probably the top 4 people in this tournament, I still think that just the mental thing of him losing 4 in a row, that tends to snowball with him. Whereas similar vein, like he could start off really bad, he strings together a couple wins that turns into like 7, 8 wins to like scrap a Kachikoshi from like a 1-6 start. So I think he might be pulling a bit of an opposite here, but the match against Kagayaki tomorrow will tell me how he will end. I think if he beats Kagayaki tomorrow, he'll get a Kachikoshi. If he loses to Kagayaki tomorrow, I think he gets Makekoshi.
If Hokuto Fuji loses to Kagayaki, I think I will be able to hear your heart break all the way from here.
Oh yeah, it'll measure on the Richter scale.
Well, speaking of a guy who doesn't quite measure up on the Richter scale, one that I would like to point out would be Koto Ueko. Definitely can't count this guy out for his tenacity and his ferocity when he gets in the ring. He actually was able to maintain against Tochinoshin, which was impressive, even though Tochinoshin was like, and wedgie coming right
That was
now.
a fun match.
I think that was the deepest.
That was awesome.
I've never seen a Mawashi stretch that much, but he still kept fighting. So I've been impressed with how feisty Kotoeko is. Record looking okay, but he's going against another M6 tomorrow, so we'll see how he does. And then to round out our non-Richter scale Rikshi, I have a special request from my wife for little Enho. Please win just one for her. That's all I want you to do. Just win one match for her. Every time we have watched any of the matches, Carolyn just sits at the edge of the couch going, please win today. I'm like, please, you're breaking my wife's heart, Enho. Please, just one win. Just make her happy. One win.
I thought he had it on day 7.
I did too.
Against Kotoeko. That was a hell of a match. But it's just not happening.
Yeah, I have him as my chump, and I even want him to win. Like, come on, Enho.
You could just see the disappointment on his face. You could just see how crestfallen he is. And it's like, oh, just win one. Please, just win.
That was especially true in his loss this morning against Aqua, where he got it. He got the grip. He finally got inside on a guy. He got a grip. But Aqua was just able to, I think he grabbed a hold of the backside of Enho's Mawashi and just twisted him down to the ground. And then Enho just sat there looking so defeated, and then just very impressively just stood up without the use of his hands. I thought that was pretty cool. But just
he
the
was
utter
mad. Oh.
he looks more and more defeated every day as these losses keep racking up, and he just can't do anything against these people because the book's been written on him. And when you're as much smaller as he is, he can't enforce any of his game unless the other person willingly lets him, and they're not letting him do it, and he just can't do anything, and he's just so light. He's so easy to shove aside and toss out the ring.
Yeah, and even one of his favorable matchups against Yu Takayama, the one that always ends up in the stare down and test of strength kind of funny poses, even that didn't work out.
Well, you say favorable matchup. Yu Takayama's 5-0 against him.
I guess favorable in that yeah, I did not realize that. That completely negates my point. But by favorable, I suppose I meant that almost always ends up in a really fun match that Enho does well in. But yeah, I guess I didn't realize that he's never beaten him. But yeah, can we talk about?
So tomorrow might be a good bet for
Aoyama.
him.
What's that record? It's better than a lot of them.
Against Aoyama. I think Aoyama starts his Aoyama is so much taller and Enho can get so low. Aoyama's thrusting can't immediately get down to the level that Enho is at, and so Enho can get underneath of him fairly easily. I think that might be one of Enho's advantages. I think he's good against the people that are significantly taller than him. Ryuden's a taller guy, and he's got a 3-2 record against the Ryuden.
I was about to say that didn't hold true for this one.
Can we talk about day 2 versus Kaisei?
Oh my God! How did I forget about that? Yes, tell everybody.
So
about day 2
Enho went
Kaisei,
for kind of a surprise Tachi where he just kind of jumped up.
A surprise, you say?
It certainly wasn't what anyone expected because it's dumb. But he just kind of jumped up, and Kaisei is like, all right, I guess if you're not even touching the ground, I suppose that'll make it easier to push you out.
So here's my theory, is that Enho kind of just lost his mind for a second, decided he was going to play leapfrog with Kaisei. He thought Kaisei, hey, he's a jovial fella. He'll be amenable to this. He'll want to play leapfrog with me. So he goes for the leapfrog against Kaisei. But what Enho doesn't know is that it's physically impossible for Kaisei to jump. And that makes Kaisei very self-conscious because if he were to jump and land on his knees, he would completely crumple to the ground beneath his own weight. And so this embarrasses Kaisei to no degree when he sees Enho mocking him with his jumping ability, trying to jump all the way over Kaisei. Kaisei gets angry and just swats him down to the ground with no regard for human life. Just a huge miscalculation on Enho's part there. But that's my little theory there. I don't know how much water it holds, but that's what I think was going on there.
It sounds as good as any other theory.
Yeah, I was about to say, it was definitely the power slam, right in... thank God for slow-mo, because you could see right at that moment where Enho realizes, crap, because Kaisei just reaches up and has a hold of his Mawashi in midair. Like, I don't know what you're trying, but it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's another
In
flaw
Enno's
in this
defense-
theory or in this strategy, because Kaisei can reach anywhere in the dohyo.
Yes.
In Enho's defense, that was a pretty good
Yeah.
jump.
Oh, man.
He got some good height there.
ups.
So I think that will wrap up our Makuuchi talk. Just a couple of quick notes. This first quick note deserves us to stop down a whole lot more than we are going to give it time for on this podcast, and probably enough so that I believe we will have a bonus episode about this topic. But Koto Shogiku has retired as of day 7 of the November tournament. He started off 1-5 and then pulled out on day 7. So this ends his slow slide after he lost the Ozeki rank in 2017. He managed to stick around for 3 years after that, but finally getting down to Juryo, seeing that his body was still not responding. He was still losing most of his matches down in Juryo. He decided to call it a career, and it was an amazing career that we will get to in much more detail when we can dedicate an entire episode to Koto Shogiku as he deserves.
We may not be able to do it in December just because we have a lot of other stuff going on, but I can assure you it is on the list.
Yep, that will be probably our next history episode, I would guess, Jake.
Probably, unless, the only thing that would top it is if a Yokozuna retires by the time that we get to that point. Or,
Which is possible.
which is very possible.
Jinx it,
So-
don't jinx it.
Yeah,
Flair.
it wasn't caught on the camera, but apparently he did a Kotobaru, a kind of a bear stretch right before his last match. So he kind of knew going into it. So
That's
so he
too bad the cameras didn't catch that.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool.
apparently gave the crowd what they wanted. So good
That
on
makes
you,
me-
Koto Shogiku.
That actually makes me really sad in hindsight.
Right?
Him going into it knowing it was his final match, and so he did the stretch one more time.
Mhm.
That's sad.
I bet you some camera somewhere caught it.
Yeah, I tried to look for it yesterday, but I couldn't find it. So I even checked the Juryo footage on it, and no such luck.
Koto Shogiku may not be. I'm not saying these guys are going to retire immediately, but it's probably pretty close for both Ikioi and Shohozan. Both of them back down in Juryo. Both of them performing fairly poorly. Shohozan is at Juryo 2 and is 1-7. Ikioi Juryo 8 is at 2-6. So might be the last days for those two stalwarts of the Makuuchi division. On a brighter Juryo note, Ura is back in town and he is 5-3, and I believe that puts him 1 win off the lead of the Juryo lead because there's 4 guys tied at 6-2. So Ura is in Juryo Yusho contention. Looks like it could be another sad Juryo Yusho tournament where you have like a 6-way playoff at 10-5. But hey,
Yeah, he's 1 off the lead, but there are 4 guys in the lead.
yeah,
And
then
another 1,
there
2, 3,
are
4, 5,
8.
6, 7 guys. Yeah, tied with him for second.
So that's about all I ask for Juryo, is to be a complete crap show and give us a crazy playoff. That's the most you can really hope from Juryo. And then I think kind of important note, somebody that we've tracked his whole career, very similar to Hoshoryu as they started at the same time. Naya, who is at rank Makushita 1 West, has started his tournament 4-0. And even if he loses out, given his rank and record, that should be enough to finally send Naya into Juryo for the first time in his career for the January tournament, which will be very nice for us to see, as we've been talking about him for probably 2-3 years now.
It was like right when we started. So yeah, full 3 years, I think.
Okay.
But per my research, I believe that would make him the first Sekitori from Gen Z, born in 2000 or later. There are a whole bunch of, there's a whole bunch of like lower division guys that have, that are younger than him. But he would be the first one born in 2000 or later to make it up to the salaried ranks.
All right. Well, that will be very cool when it happens, and we look forward to following his rise, much like Hoshoryu. So, with all that being said, we are going to take a quick break before we get an exciting update on the GSB belt and very sad updates on the Champ Chump series, for me at least. So we will be right back. All right, we are back. Jake, give us the exciting update for our GSB belt.
Yeah, we actually have a change for the first time in quite some time. As everyone knows, Chiyano Kuni had the belt. He was a 19-time champion. He carried the belt all the way. Well, not all the way. He lost it and then regained it through the previous tournament in Juryo. And he won the first 6 matches to retain the belt against a who's who of guys in the lower third of the division until day 7, when Hoshoryu became only the second person to hold the belt in Makuuchi. He defeated Chiyano Kuni and has since defended his belt against Ichinojo. And let's see, at 5-3, he looks like a strong contender to hold it for a little while, but who knows where the belt could end up. It could end up pretty high if either Hoshoryu or somebody that he loses to ends up in the neighborhood of the Yusho race and gets higher up matches. But I think with how quickly it's been moving up, I think we'll probably see this belt get all the way to the top within the first half of 2021 or so.
And it's been a fun ride, kind of track a couple of guys making their way back up the ranks. And so we'll restart it afterwards and see where it goes from there. But we got to get there first. We got to get to the end. And hopefully Hoshoryu takes it all the way and doesn't lose another match.
Yeah, I think maybe we should put out some feelers, get some feedback on what we should do once the belt makes it to the top, exactly how we should handle a transition to a new belt or what we could do that would be fun with that.
Sounds good. Let's get a quick update on our prediction series where we each choose a champ and we each choose a chump. A little bit of housekeeping to keep everybody up to date on. So Fleric had chosen Hakuho to be his champ. That was obviously before we knew Hakuho had pulled out of the tournament. So before day 1, Fleric chose Endo to be his new champ, which has served him fairly well, better than Makanai's champ. And then Fleric had also chosen Kotoyuki to be his chump, and he said on that episode that Enho would be his chump should Kotoyuki pull out, which Kotoyuki did. So
excellent pick.
That one has worked out quite a bit better for Fleric. And then
almost too well. Too well. You can win a couple, Enho. You can win a couple.
It's the monkey's paw effect right there.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want you down, Juryo. I want you still up.
No, stop losing, Enho. Stop losing.
And then my champ that I had selected was Asanoyama, who obviously pulled out after a 1 and 2 start. So I had to replace him with a Rikshi that was also 1 and 2. My heart was really pulling me towards Waka Takakage. Glad I listened to my head and got Takayasu, who has managed a 4 and 2 record since then. So I'll take that, I guess. Or a 3 and 2 record since then. A bad situation for me all around.
Who's in the lead here, Ryan? Help us out.
That would be Jake, who kind of a shocking
lovely
turnaround for him, who's been losing almost every tournament this year.
I was saving my energy.
Jake has Takakeisho, obviously the best champ he could have selected, and also Tobizaru. I feel that is my spiritual chump, as Jake and I were both correct in identifying just a horrid performance for Tobizaru, which has come to fruition so far as he is 2 and 6.
Yeah, we got a couple bonus points sprinkled in here, but not a whole lot. I think we'll probably get some more bonus points as our champs match up against each other in the later tournament.
Yep. So there's still a lot of fun to be had, but right now it looks like Jake is going to win, and I am probably going to lose, which means that I will probably have to write and perform a parody of a movie scene, and Mac will have to be my +1 for that movie scene, as was agreed upon in the infamous Team Takakeisho, Team Asanoyama debacle that occurred. All right. Without further ado, let's move on to the lightning round. Fleric,
Lightning. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Who has impressed you the most so far?
I gotta go with Takakeisho. He's a strong boy. He likes to push and he likes to pull.
What about you, Mac?
Shimano Umi, go M17. Let's make this a threefer for 2020 and round out the year in style.
Jake.
I got to say Terano Fuji, not because he's doing way better than we expected, but because his health has held up pretty well until, as we discussed today.
I've got to say Takeda Fuji. Who would ever predict the 7-1 start for Takeda Fuji? And he looks good doing it. So he's probably impressed me the most compared to expectations so far. So who has disappointed you the most, Mac? And Mac will probably take the obvious one off the board.
Kaisei. What the hell is going on with you, Kaisei? He tries to spin. He leads in with half of his shoulder going against a guy that is square and then tries to do a spin move. And what is this?
Kaisei struggling with a 3-5 record. Jake, who has disappointed you the most?
I got to give it a tie for the two Ozeki that pulled out injured.
Good call. I've got to say a tie between my Kiribayama and Wakataka Kake boys. Very disappointing start for them. And Fleric, who has disappointed you the most?
Yeah. It's got to be Tobizaru, unfortunately. I was all hyped up on him the first time around, but it sounds like what you guys were saying is true. Maybe the joy might be a bit too soon for him. Maybe 2021 will prove a little bit better.
Can we get a team honorable mention for Enho?
Oh, yes. I think that was the obvious one, so we all just had to say something else.
And that's why I couldn't pick Enho. I'm like, okay, it's Enho, but no, I'm just so disappointed with Kaisei too.
All right, Jake, what has been your favorite match of the tournament so far?
I knew I would be first because I have just so many that have been a lot of fun. Can you come back to me?
Sure. I will start it off, and I will say, despite the ending to the match that resulted in his injury, I think the most fun match that I saw was the Shodai Takayasu match. Kind of back to the clown show sumo for Shodai. Just back and forth, lasted a while, and ended up with Shodai kind of, I think it was a Tsukiotoshi win, but just like a last-second shoving. It was Tsukiotoshi Takayasu, while Shodai's back was to the Tawara. Just a very fun match there. Fleric, what about you?
I enjoyed Hokuto Fuji versus Takayasu on day 4. It was just a textbook push and pull from Hokuto Fuji, and he pulled it off well, and just to get the win. It was just so clean.
Mac.
I personally love Tawara Ballet, and I got my ice cream with that, in that it was Chiyomaru and Shimano Umi today. Chiyomaru performing beautiful pirouettes at the Tawara was just wonderful to see.
That was a good one. I like that a lot.
That was a really fun one. All right, Jake, have you had enough time?
I have. Tochi Noshin versus Kotoeko was an excellent one. I thought that one was... I was going to say the Takayasu Shodai one as well, but just to mix it up, I'll go with Kotoeko Tochi Noshin. That was an awesome belt battle, and not the amount of resistance I would have expected from Kotoeko in a belt battle with Tochi Noshin.
Who ended up winning that one? Was it Tochi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Tochi got it.
All right. Most exciting potential matchup. I mean, I think it's got to be Taka Keisho versus Terano Fuji. I think they are the two favorites going into this, and so just to see them, it should be hopefully like a day 13, 14-ish matchup between those two, so I think there should be a lot riding on the line for that matchup. What about you, Fleric?
It's got to be the Takayasu versus Terano Fuji, which is actually going to be tomorrow on day 9.
All right.
So that's going to be a good one. Just two ex-Ozekis looking to get their Ozeki rank back. Terano Fuji's been kind of pulling out so far, getting the better record, but I think anyone is poised to win this match. So we'll see who wants it more.
All right, Mac.
I would say for me, just seeing how the Shin is he Sekiwake Takanosho Shin Sekiwake, just seeing how he performs against the upper rankers. So I'm just excited for all his matches going forward.
All right, and Jake.
I'm gonna take the easy answer here and take the Yusho race, which I think will be between Taka Keisho, Terano Fuji, and maybe toss in Mitaki Yumi. I think any matchup between those three is what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, we got to remember that hypothetical day 15 Taka Keisho Mitaki Yumi matchup for the Yusho. All right, and the most important question that we have based on Ryuden's performance so far. Jake, twerk or no twerk?
No twerk.
I am also in camp no twerk. Fleric.
I'm camp twerk. It's working for you, buddy.
Twerk, 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 twerk.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we got another 2 versus 2. Better put something on the line.
Oh god.
Oh shucks, we have what was the prediction point we had online, Mac?
We had 2 points.
Ooh, this
on
is going to
the
be a big
line.
help for me.
What?
Sorry,
This could potentially help Ryan out of last place.
Yeah.
So the prediction, the bet was if Asanoyama beat Takakeisho for the U show, then I got 2 points and I took 2 from Fleric. If Takakeisho beat Asanoyama for the U show, Fleric takes 2 of my points.
Okay, so if Takakeisho takes the U show, I get points, right? I think that's where it comes down to.
Yes.
No, I think if we go back and listen to the tape on the preview, I think we
As
amended
only
it to
Ryan does.
Of course.
Yeah.
Correct.
Dang, that's
I
probably
believe
fair.
we amended it to make it simpler. Just whoever does better, Takakeisho or Asanoyama. So I think that
Did we?
ship has. I'm
No,
pretty sure.
it was
I'll go
beat.
back. I'll go back and re-listen to the tape. But I'm pretty
Okay.
sure we just amended it to who does better, just to make it easier. So I'll go back and listen
This is
to it.
Ryan
I guess
basically begging for not last place.
This
We're
is
going to
Ryan
double check, Mac.
This
We're
is
gonna double check.
Ryan going back and trying to get out on a technicality.
If by
I'll get out
technicality you mean
however I can.
Yeah, Mac, if by technicality you mean what we agreed on in the previous episode, then yes.
Shut up, Jake.
But Ryan will go back and listen to it because nobody else actually goes back and listens to older episodes.
Correct. All right, Mac. Who is going to win the tournament?
I don't know. My gut
Very
says
honest.
Takakeisho, but you got 7 days left with a lot of strong competitors right at his heels. I don't know.
What about you, Jake?
I think Takakeisho is the favorite. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's a lock or that he has even a better than 50% chance to win it overall, but I think he's got the best chance out of anybody.
Fleric.
Yeah. I think Takakeisho is probably the favorite to win the Yusho on the dohyo, but the Yusho of our hearts, it has to be the twerk. So, pro twerk.
And I've got to say, turn those memes into your dreams, Shima no Umi. Take the tournament. Maegashira 17. Let's go.
Wow.
All right. If you also want to see a third Maegashira 17 U show, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service.
We will now get 0 reviews.
Yep.
Yeah. Great transition, Ryan. You can find us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, search for Grand Sumo Breakdown.
GrandSumoBreakdown.wordpress.com, where all of the stuff goes. Also, check out our sumo fitness series that me and Mac have been running. Episode 3 of that will be coming out right around the same time as this episode.
If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO. And I'm going to add on this too, Ryan, if I do lose, because you go back and weasel your way out of this, I will be so angry.
Not like I'm manipulating the tape, Mac. I'm just re-listening to what we all already said.
You sly weasel.
You're manipulating the tape. I know it in my heart.
Now, Mac,
Ryan is fake news. Listening to actual words.
Who edited that preview episode where I would be pulling those words from?
Jake.
Anyway, we'll catch you later on Grand Sumo Breakdown.
No, it was Mac. Mac edited it.
Oh, it's
Yes.
Mac. Jacuz.
Yes,
a big thank you to Mac for helping out with the editing load. That is a big help, and also it would be just so much sweeter if he doomed himself.
I hope not.
All right, tune in to the recap episode to see if Mac did in fact screw himself out of the Champ Chump series. I guess either way, it's going to be me and Mac performing the scene because
There's
we're the
plenty
bottom
of tournament
guys.
left.
There
There is plenty of tournament, but I would like more submissions from everybody out there. If you've got more scenes that you want us, now that you have a better idea of who might be performing it, throw out some more scenes and quotes. We've
gotten quite a few suggestions, so I'm sure Jake or Fleric will take that to mind when they are deciding what I or Mac need to write and perform. All right.
Probably work together, being Team Takakeisho.
Yep.
Yeah.
Team Takakeisho sticks together, unlike that other crappy team.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm completely throwing Mac under the bus now. All right. We have rambled on for far too long at the end of this episode, so goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high.
and keep moving forward.